Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, eXp Realty, family, friends, and Candice Garcia. What's going on, Candice? Good to see you. Happy
Hello, good
Friday.
morning. Happy Friday, Curtis. Thank you for having me on Connected with you this morning. I'm so excited.
Oh, so honored to be together. I'm just going to do a couple quick call outs for our team in the background, everybody that's watching and listening. We are not live in World, I don't believe just yet. So if you're with us on the YouTube stream, good morning and thank you for being here. Happy Friday. If you're on the team and you can hear us in the back end, we don't have the YouTube stream live in eXp World in the main auditorium just yet. So Candice, we'll hang tight just for a couple of minutes and chat through what we're going to do today. Awesome. And welcome everybody. And I always like to remind people, if they're with us on the YouTube stream, to make sure to subscribe, make sure to turn on notifications, because I think one of the coolest things happening at eXp right now is how often from across the company, different people and groups and organizations are going live and producing videos, right? We've got Glenn Sanford's podcast dropping every single week where he interviews amazing eXp agents. We've got our DEI events. We've got celebration events every single month. We've got trainings. What is the university doing every week, Candice? It's dropping on YouTube.
Well, in addition to that, Curtis, we also have eXp Explained. We are now doing eXp Canada. We're getting updates each week from our Canadian team. So a lot happening on that Realty channel that are not just university. If you want to get connected to what's happening at eXp, if you want to know what we're doing at a global level, absolutely this channel is what you should be following. Now, in addition to that, eXp University is still coming on every Monday and Wednesday to do level up training. Yep. So if you are looking to increase your productivity, your attraction, you're looking to just level up your life and change your business, this is where you're going to tune into twice a week, every Monday and Wednesday, starting at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jump into YouTube, our eXp Realty's YouTube channel, to catch everything that we've got going live. You're going to get amazing training from our top producers, our icon agents, our alpha and beta attractors, all for absolutely free every single week. So definitely subscribe now, folks.
I love it. All right. So, okay, we're up in World now, Candice. So we're rocking and rolling this morning. Want to give a shout out to everybody who's joining us in the Metaverse Auditorium. We got Phil Hahn in the house, as always, every Friday. Phil never misses. We got Amy, we got Sally, Leilani, Raina's in the house. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. So if you're a regular in this time slot, Candice, we all know what we get to do here for the first couple minutes is just get our mindset going in the right direction before you and I jump into an amazing conversation about connection and some things that's happened recently and some things that are coming up. And we just want to make sure that the folks that are here most connected to Friday mornings have a good idea and understanding of all of the great available things, the powerful energy available to them across the eXp ecosystem. So let's take a moment and get the mindset going. Your mindset prompt for this morning, it needs a little bit of kind of like context. So I'm reading this book right now, Candice. It's kind of like one of those earth-shattering, mind-changing books. It's called The Untethered Soul. And in the book, each little chapter teaches you a bit of a new concept about how to think about yourself, your inner dialogue, how to think about energy and all kinds of cool stuff. And one of the first couple chapters, it talks about that little voice inside your head. Do you have one of those?
Of course, everyone does.
Everybody, right? So it talks about it. And I don't think I've ever been talked to, 41-year-old grown up. I've never been talked to about how to think about that little voice inside myself. And so the way the book proposes you think about it is as a roommate. So imagine you yourself, right? You're living inside yourself. You are there, you are you. And then you have this other voice. And sometimes this voice is like singing songs. Sometimes this voice is telling you stories. Sometimes it's spinning a narrative. Sometimes it's spinning out and just doing some chatter. Other times it's just talking for no reason. And so the exercise is about imagining that voice in your head is a roommate and starting to not just pretend that voice lives inside your head, but what if that was a person living with you in your home where you are? How long would you be able to hang out with that person? How long would you be okay with that? Would you tolerate that kind of conversation, interruption, incessant chatter, or would you have to do something different? Would you quiet it down? So this morning's prompt is about controlling that inner voice just a little bit and deciding what you would need to do to that roommate. Would you need to have a talk with them? Would you need to kick them out? Would you need to ask them to quiet down? Would you need to ask them to change their attitude? What would you need to do with that inner voice? So that's the prompt this morning. I want you to imagine that inner voice. I want you to pretend they're a roommate. And I want you to come up with the message that you need to give that roommate this morning to be more aligned and more in tune with exactly who you are, where you want to go. And realize also in that exercise, like that you're not that voice. That voice is actually not you. That's something additional. That's different. That's outside of you. So what message do you need to deliver to that roommate today? So the prompt is, the message I need to deliver to my roommate is, and if you're just walking in, you got to go back and rewind to get that prompt. The message I need to deliver to my roommate is. How do you want that inner voice to show up for you? Maybe you don't want it to show up at all. Take a moment, wrap your head around that concept. And if you're bold enough, brave enough, you want to share it with us in the EXP World chat box. If you want to share it with us in the YouTube comment stream, let me know. Let Candace know. And I'll give mine, Candace, just to kick us off, if you don't mind. The message that I've been delivering to my inner voice ever since I kind of read that little chapter and started thinking about this, the message that I've delivered to my inner voice is just to quiet down. I realized, right, like so many probably, with how busy life is and how hectic things are, and with what I've been through in my life and what you're going through every day, every week, every month, that voice doesn't shut off. It's just almost always there. Like when I quiet down, when I'm going to sleep at night, when I wake up in the morning, when I'm doing a workout, when I'm in the middle of something I don't want that voice to be a part of, it's there. It's got some message. It's got something to say, some reaction. And that's not typically how I want my energy to go, right? I'm not looking for extra distractions. I'm not looking to change direction of thought. And when you start to realize you're in control of your direction of thought and that little voice doesn't have to be your navigator, oh, it's so powerful. So my message to mine is to quiet down this morning.
And I think my message to mine would be, sometimes you are my biggest critic. Sometimes you are my biggest champion. So I will decide what I choose to listen to.
Ooh, I love that. I like the choice this morning. The power of choice is, clearly something both of us are just like, it comes up for us when we think about this, choosing. So you and I chose recently to invest a lot of time and energy, in our professional life and even in our personal life, because you brought your family and all kinds of cool stuff into the EXP Shareholder Summit that happened in Orlando here a couple of weeks ago. This is the first time we've been back live in studio. So let me get a poll from the audience here. If you're with us on YouTube or EXP World, give me a yes or a me or some commentary if you went to the Shareholder Summit live in Orlando or you watched some of the live streams. Let me get a feel for who was there. And for everybody who was or wasn't, Candace, I'd love to start by just connecting some dots for this audience to things that we experienced at that event. Why do we go? Why did it happen? Why do we do what we do? And what happens there? Like what comes up for you when I just bring it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very excited to be here today also because it's June 2nd. And on June 1st, I do a lot of house cleaning. And it occurs to me that in the beginning of the year, right, like January 1st, we do a lot of like, oh, I'm going to do this for the year. I'm going to do that for the year. And as we walk through our education and training at EXP University, one of the first things we teach new agents to do, Kirtus, is to do what? It's one of the first things we tell you to do.
Get in action. Take the path.
Yes. But we ask you to start building out your business plan, right? Build out your business plan. We do a 30, 60, 90-day plan. It's been a while since he's taught this one, y'all, so people have to be a little rusty. We do a 30, 60, and 90-day plan, and we encourage you to start to do what? To dissect your time. Your time is your money. So if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're spending your time doing, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. That's not how you're going to level up and have a business that's going to be successful, right? And so many of us spend January, right? Not December, not November of the year before planning, but we spend the first few weeks of January trying to figure out our year. And how many of us go, I'm going to come back to this plan in 6 months? Most of us. How many people did you know yesterday that were posting, hey, it's January or it's June 1st. It's my 6-month mark and I'm back here. I am back to my goals. I am back to what I'm doing and I am dissecting what I've spent the first half of this year doing so I can make sure that I've learned from my mistakes and I'm not going to carry that into the next 6 months.
I would guess not a lot.
I would guess not a lot, right? So I love being here because for me, this is a brand new start. This is January 2nd. This is like, what are we going to do now, Kurt, that we weren't doing before? And how are we going to burn down everything that we did in the last 6 months that did not serve us personally or professionally, so that we can start to build something that will sustain?
Whew.
So that's kind of the energy that I'm arriving here with today, is like, what do we need to do to sustain? And I think for me, and I think for you, so much of that is wrapped up in community and in connection.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, you know, to your point, we got to a point where shareholders isn't just this event where we get to go and have so much fun. We're actually putting this event on. This is something that we're pouring our time into. And I'm so excited today. We actually have Carolyn Merchant, our CMO, who's going to be talking to Russ all about shareholders and her experience.
Amazing.
Carolyn is amazing. And, you know, one of the reasons that this event was so successful, we get to work with really amazing people to put on really amazing events, but we pour in a lot of ourselves in order to make this happen. And so you get to a point after these events and in the middle of the year where you're on empty. You're really on empty because you are giving so much of yourself. And so getting to go to this event, getting to arrive 1,000%, I'm going to be honest with you, on absolute empty, looking, feeling exhausted, with bags under my eyes bigger than the bags that I put on the plane with me. And I got to get to this place where the minute that we get there, it is love. It is appreciation. It is training and education by your favorite people, done in a way that is so encompassing that there's nothing that you're missing out on. It was almost like going to a buffet and there's so many delicious things to eat that you're not sure where to start, right? So we went from a place of feeling like there wasn't enough, like this fear of it wasn't going to be enough, to this juicy, delicious buffet, Kirtus, where there was more than enough of everything. And I think that was kind of the point in like the direction shift of going from a place of fear to a place of abundance. You get there and suddenly it was everything that you needed. It wasn't just the training. It wasn't just the education. It was the connection that we were making with people. And I know Jess Nieto is a fan of the show. She's usually watching or online somewhere.
Shout out, Jess.
Came up to me at one point, Kurt, and said, "Why is this event so different? I feel the difference. I feel the connection. I feel us all kind of vibing together in this energy that you will not find anywhere else." And so that was really what this event was for me. It was about filling my tank back up, switching my perspective, and tapping into the resources that EXP has here, the people that we have here, and just filling my cup back up for the next half of the year.
Oh, well, cheers to that, Candace. I mean, congratulations on having a full cup this morning, and welcome June 2nd. And, you know, Candace, in fact, you've coached me to be really present and really hyper-focused in my connected podcast and stuff, but I can't help to like look at the chat box this morning, because there's just people in here that are feeling exactly what you're saying. Like, first off, you know, you gave a critical reminder and call to action for everybody listening right now. Like, whatever's already happened this year has happened, and you've got 6 months left in this calendar year. And I just think that's a tremendous call out, because, you know, another book I'm reading is called The 12-Week Year. And the concept of the 12-week year is that most of the time as humans and as professionals, like, we plan based on calendar years. And so in January, we decide what's going to make this year a success or not, and what's going to be great. And we usually set up all our goals based on like outcomes. That's a conversation for another time. But we look out 12 months, and then a couple months go by and you're like, oh, I'm a little behind my goal. And then a couple more months go by and you're like, oh, I'm going to have a good end of the year. And then a couple months will go by, and now like we're in June. And so what the book proposes is that you break your year into much smaller chunks and you give yourself deadlines. And that's like what Shareholder Summit was for me. If I think back a few months ago, it was a deadline for creating the right connections with the right EXP instructors and the right trainers and the right speakers and the right agents. And it was a deadline around delivering as much of ourselves as we could, and as much of agent experience, as a great agent experience as we could. And then you get there, like to your point, it was a destination. Like, you got there, you had a time in mind, then you experienced it all, and then you were done and you started over. And I think I would challenge everybody to remember, or maybe install a couple of deadlines for yourself in these last coming 6 months. What are you going to do between now and, let's say, if you have children, when your kids go back to school? Because this feels like summertime for a lot of people with kids, Candace, right? School's out, the kiddos are home, or they're at camp or whatever. That's a season, right? And it's a sprint or a marathon, depending on what you've got going on in your life between now and when they go back. Like, my kids go back in the middle of August, and all our plans for the next, really 65, 75 days revolve around getting to that time in August. That's a deadline, and we have a lot to accomplish, and we have a lot of big goals. And then we'll stop and do what you recommended. We'll reflect, we'll reassess, and we'll plan out the rest of the year. We'll adjust the goals and we'll go. I think just that reminder was huge. And then we got people, Candace, kind of answering the part about their inner voice and what they were thinking and all that. So people are feeling and appreciating the sharing and the transparency there. So showing up with all that energy in your heart and connection on your mind and the value and power of, for anybody, you know, outside of Summit, it's over now, right? We're back wherever we are and we're sitting here today. What's your 6-month plan or recommendation outlook? Like, how are you going to approach this? What are you thinking about?
That's a great question. So I don't know that I was ready to answer all of that, but okay, let's jump into.
Yeah, we can walk through it together. I mean,
yes, absolutely. So it had not occurred to me either that we were at this 6-month point. And, you know, it's like you wake up and it's June, right? So it didn't occur to me that we were this far in the year, but it is something that I like to do. My daughter's birthday's in June. So for me, it's this big stop of like the year. June is when I became a mom. June is kind of this huge month for me that I like to really honor. You know how I am. I like to honor these things. I like to honor this passage of time. You know how nostalgic I am. So June for me has always been a month of reflection. To your point, it's summer. As a mom, it's always a quieter time. And so something we talked about the last time that I was on your show was my year last year and sort of my reluctance to reflect and to learn from what had happened. And so what I've tried to do this year is I'm trying to do in a very loving way with myself, because that inner voice tends to tell me, oh, you're not doing it. You're sucking. You should be doing more. In a very gentle and loving way, I've been trying to keep myself on task of making sure to reflect on the choices that I'm making personally. And that tends to be harder for me than the business choices, because the business choices have direct and immediate consequences. When I am not on top of those things, it is very obvious. But with personal choices, it can get a little messy, it can get a little dirty. And if you're not constantly reflecting and journaling and going back and saying, why am I doing these things? Why am I making these choices? And how am I here? The behavior doesn't change. And so what my focus has been on is creating change within myself that lasts, like creating habits. And so the only way to do that is to reflect on the things that I'm doing that don't work. And so it has been almost like self-therapy, right? Where I'm going through, taking note of things that were not working, ways that I've spoken to people that were not working, ways that I'm coaching my team that were not working. We've talked about this week, right? Ways that I'm raising my children that are not working, ways that I'm relating to my ex-husband that is not working. And those are not conversations that are easy to have with yourself. These are why you avoid that inner voice, because you don't want to have those conversations. And I am now forcing dates with myself, time with myself that is required reflection time. And so what I did yesterday was I started to document all of that out, and not just write it, not just because I've been gentle with myself, not just note it and get curious, but try to decide how I will now change these things. I've noted them. I've been curious. Now it's time to create action behind each of these things so that I can actually change them for the next half of the year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you weren't ready to answer that. Sure, you weren't ready to answer that.
Well,
sure, you weren't ready to
get
answer
so
that.
personal, but all right, let's do it.
Oh, I love it. Big shout out to our guy, Jeff Ruby, just joining us on the YouTube stream. What's going on, Jeff? We absolutely missed you in Orlando. My goodness. Well, congratulations. I want to acknowledge you on the tremendous action that you've taken, right? That's unbelievable. I think that's just amazing to do that. And how many of us, I mean, me included, like sitting there listening to Candace, you just got a lesson this morning in, if you're wondering what action to take to make some positive change in any area of your life, there you go. Like there's the plan, there's the blueprint. That's simple. Start today. Don't stop, and just get into motion like that. And then watch what happens. So the whole time you were talking, Candace, what was kind of coming up for me as I was hearing you describe the reflection and the what's not working, I think that is one of the most beautiful like first steps. And for me right now, I'm very much on a health and wellness journey. And I am in a place where sometimes, some days, like the physical first step is the hardest, right? Like it's just, it's hard. Like my foot hurts. It's hard to walk, right? It's hard to get out there. My little brother wants to play pickleball all the time and I can only hang like once or twice a week. So it's hard to like want to go to the pickleball court because I know I'm going to physically hurt.
Yeah.
But when you identify what's not working and you actually stop and reflect and then you write down what you want to do instead, or you get into motion with what you want to do instead. When I don't want to exist in like this way physically anymore, then it doesn't matter if my foot hurts because everything else hurts way worse. So I don't want that. Right. I want something different. And so I'm going to go take a walk and I'm going to get my first step out there. And what I've realized, and my wife tells me this all the time, it's just a nice reminder, is once you start doing the thing you do want to do, the little change that you really, you didn't want to go out and take that walk, or you didn't want to make that call, or you didn't want to do those hours of whatever you needed to do. Once you start going, that little voice quiets down, or it becomes your cheerleader for others, right? And you're going and you just start to get the energy of openness and excitement and you start to feel momentum. I was talking to someone this week. It was actually a young man on our basketball team, a 13-year-old. And we were talking about confidence. And he said, Coach, I don't have a lot of confidence in some things on the court. And I said, well, where do you think confidence comes from? You know what this 13-year-old said? He said, I think it's a mindset, Coach. And I first acknowledged him, like, what a brave thing to say. Like, what a cool conversation to have with a 13-year-old boy. And I said, I love that that's what you're thinking about. Absolutely. Your mind plays a critical role. I said, do you want to know the easiest way to build confidence? And I borrowed this from a friend because I'm so fortunate to have these crazy conversations with people on the Connected podcast. I said, do you want to know how you can start right now? And he said, how? I said, keep your little commitments to yourself, your little ones. You know, and what is for me, like what is going for a walk? It's about 3,000 to 5,000 little commitments kept. One step, the next step, the next step, the next step. Like I'm just building the confidence that I can do it and I can be it and I will. And I'm not doing the thing I don't want to do, which is not moving and sitting stationary or whatever. Right. And so for you with all that reflection, again, I want to acknowledge you. I think that's just the tremendous step. And what I know you will do is the next step and the next step and the next step. You'll continue in action. And I know on the professional front, even though you shared the personal stuff, and I thank you for the transparency, on the professional front, we're doing the same thing, right? Our EXP University team is taking the next step and the next step and building out. And we've got folks like I shouted out Phil, that's a regular here, and Jeff Ruby, and people that have participated and been connected to our community for a long time. And it's the reason that we're able to deliver, you know, training and education in the cloud in such a prolific way. So what do some of those next steps look like as we look out 6 months relative to our EXP University family, the training and education that Patty Montana and Joe Alex Statham might be able to access or get for other agents in their community?
Yes. Well, if you are here and you're watching today and you're feeling disconnected or you're looking for a way to get into action, EXP University absolutely has resources for you. And we will talk about that in a minute. But I do want to say too, Kirtus, that it is about taking the initial step, to your point. So just take the first step, right? I'm also on a health journey and I'm desperately trying to gain weight. And I went to my doctor and I was like, I need to gain weight. You need to give me pills. You need to give me a powder. Like, what kind of shake can I just drink? She was like, no, you're going to actually have to change your eating habits. You're going to have to eat regularly. You're going to have to eat protein. And I was like, no, I'll just eat some Whataburger. I'll just down some shakes. Like, it's good. Just give me the drink. I'll just drink. And she was like, no, there's not a simple fix for this. Just like there wouldn't be a simple fix if you had a lot of weight you want to lose. There's not a simple fix for a lot of weight. This is a lifestyle change. And until you're ready to change your life, you will not gain the weight you want to gain. And I was like, cool. And I just pulled up my phone and I Googled like weight gaining shakes because I did not want to do the lifestyle change, right? But that is the point. Like, then I started going on walks. And guess what? If you want a 5-mile walk, Kirtus, you're going to be hungry and you're going to eat a giant meal and your body's going to crave protein after that. And so it was in taking that first step, literally, and taking the walks that then helped me to change the mindset around the lifestyle change. So you don't think that you have to then commit to this huge thing. That will scare you off. Take the first step. I don't know where it's at. Read the compound effect. I know I've got it here somewhere. That's always going to help. I'm always going to push compound effect for any and all things. If you are looking to start something new, start there. It is really just as simple as one step. That's it. If you are here and you are looking to take that step in your business and in your career and you're not sure how to do that, EXP University has the resources. That's the other thing that I am passionate about passionate about making sure people know the second half of the year is all of the free training available to you through EXP University. So if you were not able to attend, shareholders, guess what? A lot of the folks that you saw on stage there still teach regularly in EXP University. So if you go to expuniversity/start, expuniversity.com/start,
okay,
right now, you can go to all of EXP's resources. You can find links to our action plan, which was developed for brand new agents. It's going to help you walk you through the building blocks of being an agent. It's going to teach you how to make that business plan, that 30, 60, 90-day plan that Kurt and I were just talking about. We're going to teach you how to prospect. We're going to teach you how to pick up the phone and make those calls. We've got amazing Phil Hahn has contributed to this session. We're so excited. We're going to teach you how to make those calls. We're going to teach you how to pick up those scripts. We're going to teach you how to talk to buyers. We're going to teach you how to talk to sellers. We're going to teach you how to go to the buyer's appointment, the listing appointment. We're going to take you from contract to close, Kirtus, all for free. These sessions taught by our brokers, taught by our icons, taught by our alphas and betas for free. No other brokerage is doing this. I want everyone to get connected to the university and to everything that we've got here for you. This is going to be this first step. This is how you take action. This is how you change your life. So please be building your plans out for the next 6 months and include EXP University as one of the resources that's going to help you level up.
I love it. Easy to remember. I just dropped the website in the EXP World chat box, and I'll drop it here in the YouTube comment stream as well, expuniversity.com/start. I just hit it myself. So many free resources. You know, if you're early in your career, you need some basic training. You've got Action, the Path to Production. It's a full online course. It's going to take you through everything you just talked about. You've got the link to the YouTube, Candace. You've got some additional on-demand training, easy access, icon series stuff. You've got a link to the website. And then just a reminder, the next big event that we're going to shift gears to connect to and start planning is EXPCon, looking out all the way into October, I believe. So you can also register for the EXPCon event there. I love it. expuniversity.com/start. And then Candace, one last plug too. If anybody out there in the audience is like, okay, I'm an experienced agent, I've taken a lot of training, I love the university, but I want to support in a bigger way, how can they get connected to us as an upcoming instructor or to participate in a different way and give back?
Absolutely. They can reach out to us on workplace chat.
Okay.
They can reach out to us here on YouTube. They can reach out to me directly. We do have a link. I'll see if the team, they may not be ready, but we do have a link that we can try to post if they're interested and want to continue to teach for EXP University. Lots of opportunities here. We're always looking for new instructors. If you want to give back to this amazing community of agents, we are so excited to have you. So reach out to us. We'll get you connected. We're so excited.
And Candace, I always say, I truly believe everybody's just one connection away from a totally different life, a totally different reality. I want to thank you this morning for being that connection personally, sharing your story and letting people know what's in your head and on your heart this morning. And I want to thank you and the EXP University team professionally for being that connection to people that can get connected to free online training, be on the YouTube channel. So many unique opportunities that exist just because of this one connection. So thank you for being here, everybody. We will see you next week at the same time slot on Connected. You've got just a bit before the EXP Big Agent Meeting starts. Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, good morning. Happy Friday. This is Big Agent Meeting. I am your host, Russ Laggan, and I am super excited today because we have couple powerhouses coming along. We are going to be rocking and rolling today. This is the first live show back after shareholders. And by the way, we got somebody that knows a little bit about that. Chief Marketing Officer of eXp Realty, Carolyn Merchant. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. She's had an interesting rise through eXp, and she's the one behind the scenes on a ton of the stuff that goes on in marketing. So we're going to pick her brain a little bit today and figure out who she is. She's our Meet the Leader today. And then we're going to follow that up with the one and only, the incomparable Nolly Williams. This guy is going to be full throttle, full contact. You guys want to make sure you stay tuned for that. That's what we've got on our show today. So let's kick it off right out of the gate with Carolyn Merchant, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of eXp Realty. Carolyn, come on down. You're up. Here you go.
Hey, how's it going?
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Let me ask you a question. Are you recovered from shareholders yet?
100%.
Oh, come on.
150%. Ready to get, and we're back at it again.
Yeah, right. I was like, wait a minute. That means you're working on another project. Oh no, deadline six months for eXpCon, right?
Yeah. Well, eXpCon Canada first in September. So we're working hard at that, and then eXpCon in Vegas, October.
So we're talking the first ever eXpCon Canada.
First ever. We're so excited.
That is super great. It's really exciting when you get to do first of anything, right? It's always exciting when you get to do. It's also nerve-wracking.
Nerve-wracking, but as a Canadian in Canada, I'm so excited that we get to bring eXpCon to my home country and to all the agents here as well. And it's going to be in Vancouver first week of September. So we're so excited. We're going to make it amazing. We have a new head of events actually who joined last week. Stacey Levy. She has amazing experience. She was head of events for Sotheby's International Realty. She's killing it already. Day 10. So we're ready. We're ready.
Oh, hang on a second. 10 days in.
10 days in, and we are deep into eXpCon planning, regional rally planning. We got a lot going on. It's exciting.
I met her yesterday for the first time on the meeting, and she's like, I've already got in and I was renegotiating this and do it. And I'm like, whoa, she hit the ground full throttle, full contact, foot on the floor all the way in, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's great.
Love that. Yeah. And she comes with an amazing resume with an amazing background and awards for the things she's done.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. That's a great person to add to the team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're excited. So it's going to be a whole new experience heading into eXpCons this year. We're excited. We're excited to see you all there too.
Yeah, good. I can't wait to see everybody again. It feels like a year ago we just saw everybody, but I always look forward to the big events because it's a ton of fun for me to just roll around and have some fun with people, right? So let's back up a second here, because I know you don't want to talk about yourself because you're not that type of person, and I get that, but I don't want to cross the line with you on it. But I do want to say, there's a lot of women that want to know how you get into the position you're in. And I know you have 2 children. One, I believe, is 6, and the other one is 3. Two
That's
boys, right?
2 boys. Yeah.
So, holy moly! How do you do it?
It's a good question. I think part of it's that you just do it, right? You plan your days. You stay organized. I remember earlier in my career, a lot of different events that I would go to, and it would be women talking about this very question, and now here I am. And so that's a weird feeling in itself. But I think that you get help. You use your family, you use your network, you lean on people, and everyone always says it takes a village, or it takes a community to raise a child. And I think that you need to really make that part of your life, and how you structure everything, set boundaries for yourself. When are you going to be 100% mom, and when are you going to be 100% work, and when is it okay to kind of mix the two? Those types of things, I think, make a really big difference in being intentional about how you spend that time.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, the misnomer is, for a woman to get where you are, they have to drop everything, abandon the family, and just say, you know what, work is more important than family. But there are people that balance it, and it seems like you found and struck that balance. And here's the fun part. Let me ask you a real great question. How often do you mess it up?
Oh, all the time.
Right?
Absolutely. There's days, when you're doing school drop off or something like that, and they say, hey, will we see you at the art fair today? And you're like, oh my gosh.
The art. Oh.
Well, I will figure that out.
Every single school project ends up looking like eXp Realty marketing materials.
Yeah, eventually I'm sure we're going to get there. But I think you have to roll with it. I think there's, and I think that again, it's how do you work with your whole family too to make sure that someone's always there for you. If you can't be there in person, who can be there?
Yeah,
that shows them that love. But I think also for me personally, when I can give my all to them and be there and be there for those important moments, I do better at work too, because I'm not feeling like I'm missing out on either side. And that's really important to me. So I do really prioritize my family and make sure I'm there for all those big moments. And then that makes me much happier in everything that I do at work. And I can contribute better in those ways too.
Fantastic. So it truly is a balancing act, and you just got to play the balancing act, and you have to ask for help, right?
That's right.
Is that hard for you to ask for help, or you have the right system in place and not really at this point?
Not, early on it was, I think, and I think this is probably true of everyone. You think you can do it all by yourself. And you think, I don't need help. I got this. And then pretty quickly you start to realize I need people who are going to be here on certain days, or I need to make sure I'm, have a backup. This could go long. Like I need someone who's going to be able to jump in and help me. So I think it gets easier the more you do it, the easier it becomes, because the other thing I think, when you do have help, these are other people for your family and for your kids to be in their life and to be loved by more people and to have different influences. And so I think it's really an opportunity too for them to have a really balanced and rich community around them. So it's not only for me, but I think for them too, it enriches their lives.
Awesome. So one of these days I'm going to get the call and be like, the boys need Uncle Russ.
Yeah. Need some guitar lessons up here.
Can you imagine me with a couple of young kids? We come back, it's like, Uncle Russ took us race car riding.
That's right. Oh, they'd be thrilled.
But little boys and I will get along great, because I'm just a 51-year-old little boy. So way more than once. All right. So let's do a little recap on shareholders quick, because shareholders event was amazing and interesting. And I think a lot of great feedback from shareholders. So tell me a little bit about shareholders. Where are some of the wins in shareholders this year?
So this shareholders was different than any other shareholders that we hosted previously, in the sense that it was 100% about our agents. And so that was typically the role of EXPCon. And this year for Shareholder Summit, we wanted to really lean into agents. We wanted to have more agents on stage than ever before at a shareholder. So I think we had more than 160 agents on breakouts, main stage, everywhere. So it was really incredible. And just to see how many people poured into the event and gave it their all was just really incredible. And then the feedback that we've gotten on how people have been able to grow, learn more, network, all those things, all those goals that we set out to do. It's just incredible to hear that we accomplished what we went to do. And I think the other thing that was really different about Shareholder Summit this year was introducing the Explorer Pass, which was for non-EXP agents to come and learn everything about EXP as a guest of one of our registered attendees. And I think that was really great. We had more than 360 Explorer Passes on site at shareholders, learning about everything, joining in all the sessions, going to the events. Russ, I'd just love to hear from you how you felt that went, because I know you were highly involved with making sure that each one of them had an amazing time.
Yeah, it was interesting because we first time doing it, so you don't really know what to expect. And I think there's a couple of things that are important. Number one, to be able to identify who these people are. Number two, giving them an opportunity that I don't know any other company is going to let somebody outside the company into the company and see it from the inside, actually how it works, how it feels. And I will tell you what, the feel of the event is a game changer. Like for people that are new, I said, have you ever seen anything like this before? Have you ever felt anything like this before? And every single one of them, Carolyn said, I had no idea that a company can roll like this, right? The feeling of connection, the feeling of camaraderie, the feeling of collaboration, the things that they're seeing on stage. So their feedback to me was absolutely priceless, because all of the things were kind of like, this is just the way we roll. But then you realize when somebody pops up from the outside, how unbelievably different it is than a lot of their experiences on the local ground. I think the Explore Room was brilliant, because we had the opportunity to sit down with people and get face to face and say, okay, so like, where are you at right now? What questions do you have left? They showed up there for a reason. It's like, what do you have left as questions? And Carolyn, a lot of them were like, there's really not that many questions. Like, how do I click the button and sign up? So we had, I believe, 12 or 13 literally hit the join button and work through. And then there was an interesting collaboration going on in the Explore Room because we had our ops people and some of our onboarding team that were there to actually walk them through the process so they had a seamless, flawless entry into EXP, which I know there's been in past years, there's been some issues with that. And there's some smoothing out of that going on right now that we got to see live and in person and literally watch somebody walk through. And then, of course, you know, the interesting part is I had this little nefarious conversation in the background. We actually snuck down and hid under one of the walkways and had a conversation with somebody who couldn't be seen out there because they want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't want to be walking down the hallways.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I'm not going to name any names or even anything else connecting to it, but I will tell you what, it's one of those people, they walk through the building, you'd be like, what the holy heck are they doing here? Right? And then there's a second one that's in the work. And like so we're starting to hear and see some of these people that we would have never touched in the past, starting to make a connection, and they just don't want to be shoved on the stage yet. But when we shove them on the stage, you guys are going to be blown away.
It's so cool. And it's amazing to hear too, just about that seamless integration of all of our teams that you mentioned. I think that's been a really big focus for all of us, and having that play out on site live in front of people is so exciting and really shows the hard work that everyone's been doing paying off. And I think too, it was sort of like everyone that was on site from an EXP employee and leadership side. You didn't need to know what team they were from. I think everyone just picked up where the other one left off, and it was incredible that way. And to me, I think what's really great is that means we're giving agents the best experience that we possibly can, which is our ultimate goal every time we show up on at one of these events.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is, it's kind of funny because a lot of people will look at a company, and we've seen this in the past. I have managers that we work with and leaders that we work with, and they're always like, well, we didn't do good on this. And we didn't do good on this. We didn't do good on that. We got to do better on this. And you know what the cool part is? Like, we celebrate the stuff we're doing well, and we all want to do better. Yeah. And every single one of the people in the operations side are like, I want to collaborate with you guys. Let me give you a perfect example. Katrina Amos. I had no idea how amazing she is until you get the chance to actually sit down face to face and get to know who that person is. And for me, it's like we had another conversation afterwards, which took it to a completely different level. So now my understanding of what she does and how she does it is absolutely priceless, because I understand where some of the things are that they're stumbling with and some of the things that they've done that we didn't even know about, which is brilliant. So, and that happens when you're face to face and make those connections. And she was connecting with people in the Explore Room, and people loved her.
Amazing. I think there's no better way to understand what EXP is all about than coming to one of our events. And I think that's true for agents that are with EXP, agents that aren't with EXP yet. And so we really hope to see everyone come out. Regional rallies are coming up. There's going to be more information about that soon. We have EXPCon Canada, like I said, September 6th to 8th, and then EXPCon US in Las Vegas, October 2nd to 5th. So we hope to see you all there. And we have so much more exciting stuff happening from the marketing team too. So I'd love to come back, Russ, one of these days, and we can talk more about those.
Hey, Carol, let's make sure we're really clear here. You say you want to jump on, you gotta pass anytime you want. It's like VIP. Come on in anytime you want. You got something good? Let's talk about it. Love Thank you for your time today. Thank you for talking to us, personal and business. Love that. Thanks for doing what you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Russ. Take care.
All right. So guys, next up, if you guys don't know who this guy is, you got to know who this guy is, right? This guy is a one-of-a-kind Nolly Williams. And by the way, just because it's Nolly Williams, I got something for you. Bring Nolly in. Come on.
Oh, there it is. I love it, man. I love that, brother. Looking good. Hey,
yeah, man.
I already feel underdressed here, Russ. Did you have to do that? Come on, man.
Man, I'm just trying not to burn my bald head.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, brother. I've been looking forward to talking to you live on this show since I hadn't gotten to actually meet you. I've got so many things going, so many different directions. I don't get the ability to actually sit down and watch some of you amazing agents do your amazing stuff as much as I'd like to. But I've seen a couple snips here and there, and I was like, I got to get that guy. And then we were on stage together, and I thought, that guy's got to be on the Friday show because people need to know who this guy is. I love the way you roll, brother.
Oh, I appreciate you, Russ. You are a gracious host, and you do a phenomenal job with the questions and the interaction with the audience. It was just brilliantly done. So,
well, thank you.
Hats off. Hats off to you, brother.
I love what I do, and I hope it shows.
Yes, it does.
It helps when you love people. It helps because then everything comes across quite completely different, right?
So true.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. Give me a real short history for you, because I know a lot of people don't know who you are yet. A lot of people are like, yes, I can't wait to see this guy. Love how he talks and what he does. Give us a quick sketch on who are you? Where are you at? Where did you come from?
So I'm Nolly Williams. I'm called the Business Healer. What I love to do is help entrepreneurs reach their ultimate greatness. And I like to do it by helping them do less. You know, I think, Russ, most entrepreneurs, the majority of them that come to me, they're doing about 90% more than they should. Meaning that when I look at their daily schedule, like when I look at what they do every day, 90% of the things that, you know, you're doing right now, you listening to this, you probably should not be on your plate. So I'm a master at systems, operations. That's kind of my wheelhouse. I've been an entrepreneur, believe it or not, for 40 years. Now I'm 53, Russ. So we got a little something in common, right? I'm 53, but I became an entrepreneur at 12 years old, and I just never shook it.
Yeah.
And at the age of 23, that's the last time I had a W-2. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 30 years.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, you started your entrepreneur world at 12 years old. So let's compare some notes here. So
yeah,
I was wearing out my dad's snow shovel when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, shoveling everybody's driveway that would pay me, and raking leaves. And then, of course, 2 paper routes, not 1, 2.
Yeah.
My dad's like, you want a skateboard? Go make some money, because we didn't have extra money when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So where did you start? What was your first gig?
My first thing was selling Grit magazine door to door. Okay.
What?
And I would buy these magazines in wholesale from some back of some comic book or something that, you know, you send off your money, and then you get a stack of these things and you sell them, you resell them. And then I did some lawn mowing, and I did some manual labor, but I found out very quickly, Russ, you know, I'm just not cut out for that, bro. It didn't work for me. So I figured out, how can I make the most money possible with the least amount of work? So I started selling candy in school. That was a big money maker. Yeah. And, you know, a few other things that I did. So yeah, I tried to figure out, I did mixtapes. I became a DJ, scratch DJ, and you bring me a tape, cost me $0. I make $10.
Nice.
I did tons of those. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff like that.
You know, it's interesting because there's certain people that just have that, I got to do stuff. I got to make something. I got to create something. I got to build something. And you always go backwards, and they always were entrepreneurs when they were younger. And they're always like, I sell at $5, I'd clean your bicycle up and polish it and oil it and all that stuff. We did all that stuff, right?
Yeah. All that.
That's brilliant. So what's the absolute worst job you had?
I've had really good jobs. I'm trying to think of, the worst job that I had was, I was working for this guy named Chop. He was in the neighborhood, and this guy, he was in construction. Now that right there should have told me he was in construction, and he paid really good money though, but he had me shoveling dirt into the back of a dump truck. So I had to get this shovel, fill it with dirt, and then, you know, here I am, 115 pounds of me at that time, trying to, man, it was the worst job I had, bro. It was bad.
I don't want to one up you, but I'm going to tell you a story that's going to make the hair on the top of your head curl, right? Yeah. So at the church, somebody said, hey, we need some help at the farm. And my dad's like, Russ will do it. He'll do anything for money. I was like 16 years old, probably $120 dripping wet at that point, almost 6 foot tall. And I literally went to a horse barn and shoveled out horse stalls into a buckboard, you know, the old wooden thing with the big wheels on the side of it. Sure. And then on the back of this thing, they had this crazy looking propeller, and I didn't know what this thing was. So we get this thing filled up. Took me like 3 hours to fill this thing up. And then they hitched up 2 giant Shire horses to this thing. And Amish guy jumps up next to me, and off we go. And then we get out into the field, and I'm like, what in the world are we doing? He goes, grab that lever and pull. And when I pulled that lever, the fan at the back started spinning, and it started whacking all the stuff that we'd thrown into the buckboard, and it was literally flying everywhere. And Nolly, literally, that's where I learned the phrase, when poo hits the fan. Yeah. That is the worst job ever.
That's what we call a poo show, but we could insert a different word there.
Worst job
wow. Wow.
All right. So,
That
so
beats.
how did you get into real estate?
So I got into real estate. Well, I first got into the music industry because that was my passion, my love.
Yeah.
I was doing rap, hip hop, and I was a Christian rapper, believe it or not. And I started a record label, and pretty soon it got distributed by EMI Capital.
Yeah.
And by the time I started that label when I was 23. By the time I was 28, I'd made my first. But 29, I made my first $1 million. I was actually making $150,000 a month back then. And I was doing well. I had 14 employees, and everything was great. And then fast forward 3 years, man, and the digital market hit, and I did not shift with the market, Russ. I was like, no, it's a fad. It's not going to be here long. And a lot of agents are out there the same way. You know, you got to shift when the market shifts. You got to look at it and you got to change. So I ended up getting bumped out of that industry, and I was like, what's next? When I was forced to sell my house, 6,000 square foot home on 10 acres.
Yeah.
And I paid my real estate broker at the time $29,375, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I said, that might be my next gig right there. I like that. I like that paycheck I just paid him, And so I studied the game, man. I studied the game. And I got into real estate as a listing specialist. That was the name on my card. The very first business card I ever had, listing specialist. And I did 21 listings my first 74 days in the business. And I went on to list over 1,000 houses during my first 10 years in real estate.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is an unusual number across the board. That's 100 a year, brother.
Yeah.
100 a year. Most
And
people are happy to have 100 in their career. You're looking at 110 years. All right, so let's backpedal up a little bit.
Yeah.
You started off with do less, right? You started off with
do less.
Let's dig into a couple details on a do less. So what should we be doing less? And then, of course, by correlate, what should we be doing more of based on what you're seeing right now?
So I did a lot of research on this I don't even know if you knew that I have a new book coming out on McGraw-Hill. It's called 3 Hours a Day, and it just chronicles how I live my life every day.
Right.
Running 3 companies and able to work 3 hours a day. And when you do the research and you really look at all the studies, the scientific studies and the college studies and the case studies, what you'll notice is that everybody has a superpower. You've got one, Russ, I've got one. Yep. And if we focus on doing the things that are squarely within our superpower, what we'll find is that there are only a couple of things that we're like super good. Yes. Listen to this. Okay, Ed Milet, remember he was on stage. And this is so interesting, Russ. And I picked up on it right away. He said, there's only 2 things I'm good at. Listen to this for a minute. Here's a guy that has over $800 million at his disposal, right? That's his net worth, almost $1 billion man. And he says that he's only good at 2 things. And this is the reality. He knows that. Most of us are only good at 1 or 2 things. That's it. And if we focus all of our time and energy on that 1 or 2 things, we can be $1 billion person, man or woman. And so he said he's good at loving people and he's really good at reading people. Those are the 2 things he's good at. And so that's really what it boils down to, finding out what you are really, really good at, what's your superpower, and then to simplify it, leveraging everything else and leverages people, systems, and tools.
Right. So let's kind of build a recipe on how to go through that. I've kind of run my recipe, and let's kind of make sure
I like it.
Yours and mine.
Look at whiteboard. All right.
Whiteboard time, right? So I heard somebody else call it zone of genius. I believe it was Jarek Robbins was talking about this also, and he said, find your zone of genius. So a lot of people say, well, Russ, I'm going to try to minimize my weaknesses. And he's like, no, man, find somebody else to do whatever you're weak at, and you do what you're best at, which is why, I do a lot of this stuff. And I do a lot of stuff on stage, and the back end and the technology stuff, I'm just not a whiz at. So I let somebody else do that. Okay. So how do we figure out the zone of genius? My recipe was always like, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? Mm-hmm. And then what do you do well? So I just use those 3. So how would you sort this out?
So Zone of Genius was actually coined by Roger Hamilton. He wrote a book called The Millionaire Master Plan. Yep. And he has a test called the Genius Test. You take the test and it tells you, there's 8 different geniuses, and it tells you which genius you fall into. Also, there's the DISC test and the passion test and other assessments. But I like the simplicity of what you talked about just now. I mean, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, you take all the tests, all the assessments. I've got something called Discovering Your Divine Destiny that I invented with 121 questions to figure out, who you are and what gets you excited. But let me give you the simple way to do it. The way I did it when I got into real estate, one of the first things I did was hire a coach. That was 8 months into the business. I hired a coach. Now, if I had not hired a coach, I would not have gotten where I am. I would not have done the 100 deals because that was not even a stretch of what I wanted to do. But one of the things I did before I hired a coach was I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of a yellow, like a Big Chief pad. Yep. And I wrote down every single thing that I did on a transaction. And lo and behold, it ended up there being like 46 different steps, tasks, right? And I rated each one from a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means I hate it, 5 means I love it. And then there's other ratings in between. And I decided right then and there, Russ, that if it's not a 4 or 5, I wasn't going to do it. Okay. So that's how I started. It's basically 1 means I hate it. So it's I hate it, I like it, I really like it. No, I hate it, I like it. I don't like it. No, I hate it, I don't like it, I like it, I really like it, I love it. So I said, I'm only going to do the things that I really like or love. Yeah. Even if I like to do something, I'm not going to do it because that's a 3 for me. Yeah. And that's how I started, Russ, with it. Just like you said, making a list of things that because we pretty much know what we're really good at and what we're not good at. But I think you have to distill it even further. When you look at a real estate agent, we only ever have 2 problems. Only 2. We either don't have enough money or we don't have enough time. Agreed. That's only 2 problems in the business. Yep. And you solve the time problem with lead generation, and you solve the leverage, you solve the money problem with lead generation. You solve the time problem with leverage.
Right. So I love the way you're going with that. And I think a lot of people will say, well, Russ, I got to do everything and I got to do everything well, or I'm not going to be successful. And the reality is, like, I'm not good at everything. But people ask all the time, like, what aren't you good at? I'm like, well, let me make you a list, right? And it's understanding who we are, number 1, and being honest to who we are. Number 1, like, you can't be good at everything. Yeah, it's okay. But there are a couple of things you're great at, even if it's unintentional. And I think let's go back to hire a coach. It's really hard for us to see ourselves for who we really are. And I know some of my mentors and leaders, I've worked for an amazing woman named Wendy Forsyth 2 times already. Yeah. And she was really great at saying, Russ, this is what you're great at. Do that. Get a little better at this because you can't be horrible, really horrible. Got to get better with that a little bit. Right. But do this. Stay there. You're in your wheelhouse. And for me, it's having somebody else look at me and say, Russ, do you realize how great you are at that? Nolly, do you realize how great you are at that? Steve, do you realize how great you are at that? Carolyn, do you realize how great you are at that? And then it's like, embrace that.
Absolutely.
And it's best to have a coach to help pick those things apart and help sort this stuff through.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. And in my book, I actually have a workbook piece of it where you can kind of go through there and figure out what what your zone of genius is, right there in the book. But there's a lot of different ways you can figure that out. But it's so important because the truth of the matter is 90% of the things that most real estate agents do and entrepreneurs in general are not things that's in their zone of genius. And really, if you were to, and this is how I ran my real estate company, is I only focused on the 10%, and I still run my life and business this way. And I basically leverage out everything else. And even if you're terrible, because a lot of people think, oh, I got to get organized. I got to organize my whole business and then I can delegate it. Yeah. That's the wrong approach. You delegate, and then the person you delegate to organizes it.
Yes.
That's the only way it will get done, because you could work for 7, 8 years trying to organize it. I ask people all the time, is the president of the United States organized? It doesn't matter. Yes or no. Who cares? Because that person doesn't have to worry about that, because they have people that do that for them. And there's a lot of reasons that people don't delegate, don't hire, and I cover that. I've studied this in depth. And, and the reason we're even talking about this is because if you really want to have the life, the career, the business, everything going the way that you were destined for, you have to change what you're doing, and you've got to get help. Nobody sees alone.
I think probably my favorite way of seeing this said in the past was always, Russ, if you are still doing $50 an hour activities, you don't have time for the $500 an hour activities. If you're still doing the $500 hour activities, you don't have time for the $1,000 an hour activities. So it's a matter of breaking your business down, and you're going to find a coach like yourself that says, let's break down your business. Where's your money really coming from? And do you like doing that? If you're making money from it and you like doing it, let's get you doing that and farm everything else to somebody else.
Sure.
Because there are tons of people that are way better at the back end of business than you and me.
Absolutely.
Our admin people absolutely have saved my life and helped make me who I am, because they took all the stuff that was time consuming that I didn't like to do, didn't want to do, and couldn't afford to keep doing because I was working on stuff that was bigger. And we provide an environment for them to do what they're best at too. And they love that stuff.
It's funny because even as we're having a conversation, I'm seeing that, you know, our screens are changing, they're flashing. I flash on, you flash off, and I don't see your hands doing anything. So you got a clicker in your hand, or what are you doing?
It is magical. No, this is my marker.
So somebody's doing that, right? You're leveraged.
Listen, man, we got somebody behind the scenes that's going to make you look as pretty as possible because they put your head up there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
hey, I had to get more forward here so I could actually compete with Russ as far as looks go. You know,
it's all good, brother. All right, so let's talk about like 3 things every real estate agent should be doing right now. So let's say do less, okay? Do less. Eliminate 90% of the stuff that doesn't work. Let's talk 3 things every real estate agent should be doing right now.
Yeah.
Or farming out.
And I'm actually going to make it even easier. So if you know you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, you're an entrepreneur, a business leader, maybe you're a coach, an author, maybe you're a real estate agent, just possibly, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's only two big picture priorities that you should focus on. And so let's say money is your big problem right now. You don't have enough money, cash flow. Okay. So the 2 big picture priorities for you will be generating leads and going on appointments. Trust me, if you only did those 2 things of the 46 steps in a listing, by the way, you should focus on listings. I think that goes without saying. I'm the listing guy. So I let me say that right now. You should be focusing on listings in your career. We should be dominating and owning and controlling the inventory. So that's a supposition that I'm taking. So again, those are the only 2 things. If you generate the leads and you go on the appointments and have your team do everything else, the only 3rd thing that I would add in there, Russ, is negotiating contracts. Maybe you could throw that in, but you know, I had a person on my staff that actually did that, a licensed assistant. So those are the 2 or 3. Now let's say money's not your problem. You're like, Nolly, man, I'm you know, I've icon 7 years in a row. This year I'm on track to make 800,000. I'm good, man, but I'm tired of working 14 to 16 hours. Okay. Well, then what you should be focused on now, you should still have someone doing the lead generation and appointments, but your focus should be branding and leadership. You should be a brand ambassador for your brand. You should spend about 90 minutes a day doing that, and then spend another 90 minutes leading your organization, having the right people in the right places within your organization so that, you know, you can oversee it at a high level as a leader. So those are the 2 big picture priorities for someone that doesn't have enough time.
All right. So you broke these down into 2 separate categories.
Yes.
2 separate categories.
Yeah.
If you are low on cash, you need to focus on number 1, generating leads.
Yep.
And number 2, going on appointments. So obviously number 1, because if you don't generate leads, you're not going to go on appointments.
Absolutely.
And then of course, you're saying focus on listings. So I know there are people watching this right now. They're going to say, Russ, please ask him, how the heck do I generate more leads right now? How do I do that with low cash? If you said generate listings, generate leads, low cash, give me 2 or 3 things to do that.
Yeah. And so I do want to throw out that for EXP University, I did a training video, and it's all about the 8 lead sources right now that you should be focused on that are free. They're no cost lead sources for getting more listings. And so I talked about that. But let's talk real quick about the lead generation piece by itself. The only way that you'll be successful doing this is you've got to go into your lead generation bunker every single day. And we used to teach that you do that from 9 to noon. Now I teach that you just do that for 90 minutes because Parkinson's law taught us that if I give you 5 hours to do something, you'll do it in 5 hours. If I give you 2 hours to do it, you'll do it in 2. And the reality is if I give you 90 minutes to, you know, pack for the trip, or if I give you 9 hours, it'll get done in same, you know. So the reality is we now know through research that 90 minutes is optimal. That's the optimal
Yeah.
amount of time for a human to focus.
Yeah.
So go into your lead generation bunker. And now listing leads, you should be focused on, like, to me, the biggest niches are going to be the ones that are market proof, like divorce, probate. Definitely you should be focused on your SOI. You should be reaching out to all of them. And I have an 18-touch system that I teach. I mean, I actually have a free book for those of you that could use it. You know, we mail it to you. It's called Triple My Listings, 27 Marketing Ideas for Free Seller Leads. Okay, that's at triplemylistings.com, or you can go to nolly.com, either one.
There you go.
And
let's go nolly.com.
Nolly.com. The book is free. You pay the shipping, and we send you the book. I wrote this book, Russ, because my revenue share group kept saying, hey, I'm in my lead generation bunker. What do I do?
Yes.
And I was like, dude. So I have 27 ideas here for free seller leads. None of these lead sources are going to cost you $1.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
So,
I love that. I love the fact that you built something that's usable and repeatable. I teach that all the time also. It's like, you've got to have something you can give to people because they're asking you the same questions over and over and over. So get really good at answering them. And you wrote a book.
Yeah. And you only have to focus on 3 or 4 of those if you want to do 30, 40 listings a year. If you want to do more, you might turn on 5 or 6 of them, but none of them are going to cost you any money. And 90 minutes a day is what you want to commit.
Yeah. So I love the 90 minutes per day because, number one, when we tell people, well, if you got nothing else to do, you've got 8 hours, you should be prospecting all 8 hours. And I know for fact, 95+% of people just won't do that.
They won't.
When I say, could you give me full throttle, full contact for 90 minutes? And most people say yes. And even then, some people don't do that. But at least we've got something that seems reasonable, manageable, and go. And listen, if you want to go longer, you can. But we know that when we break a human down, we can break us down into 90-minute nuggets. You can do really amazing stuff in 90 minutes. I love what you say about Parkinson's law. A lot of people don't know what that is. And at least, I'll explain it a little bit with you too. So you see Parkinson's disease. My grandfather had that when he was older, and his hand would just fly all over the place. And then he got to the point where he'd grab his hand and his hand would be flying all over and his other hand flying all over. And he'd look over at me and he's just like, sometime, it was useless movement and it had no benefit or value. And what we find is if we give ourselves all day, it'll take us all day, like you said. So let's break it down into a smaller nugget of 90 minutes. Just do 90 minutes, highly effective, and then you're good. Yeah. We keep beating ourselves up because we don't go. And real estate agents never know when to shut off. And I love what Karen said. You got to block it out. And then when you're done, you're done. And you got to respect that time for yourself and for your family. So do the 90 minutes of lead generation and then go from there. Yeah.
So, and just to reiterate, so the Parkinson's law, that was sort of brought in 1955. And it just so happens to share the same name with Parkinson's disease. It's completely different. But this particular gentleman discovered that if you give a person a set amount of time, and there's been numerous studies, Russ, on this. So there was a recent study that I include in the book where they gave a college campus, they said, okay, we have 3 assignments, you have this much time. And then they gave another group 2 assignments and more time. Well, they both finished in the same. The one that had more assignments in less time actually did a better job overall than the one that had more time and less assignments. So at the end of the day, we've discovered, if you give a person a minute to do something, it'll get done in a minute. It'll take a minute to do. And so, and the reason why you don't want to prospect all day, I used to tell people the same thing. Hey, you're not doing anything anyway, but it's kind of like the Netflix, I call it the Netflix sort of concept. So with Netflix, you can binge watch easily. You can binge watch 8 hours if you got a new series out or whatever. But here's the thing. What will happen if I say you can only watch 2 episodes a day? Right. What will happen the next day? Man, you can't wait to get to the. You're like, okay, what? So if I cut you off, it actually makes it fun and exciting. And so when I give you 90 minutes, it's like the guy that says, "Hey, man, I'm in the gym for 40 minutes, bro. I don't have an hour and a half." Yeah, man, he's banging it out. Yes. Whereas the guy that goes and got 2 hours, man, he's on his. He's looking for new songs. He's checking out the girls. He's getting a drink of water. No. When you you go in, you got 40 minutes, you hitting it. You're gonna hit it.
Yeah, like I'm doing just weights. Yeah. I'm soaked because I'm doing weights in a cardio manner. It's like I don't like 3 sets, pause. No, 3 sets, go on to the other 3 sets and the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3. And get it in, get it done, get out of there, and then you're done for the day. You don't worry the rest of the day. Oh, I didn't work out long enough. I got my work in. I'm done. Move on.
So true.
I think
it's time on the task over time. Yeah, it's time on the task over time, not how much time you could burn yourself out. Because if you do 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, you'll do that for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you won't prospect for like 3 months. That's not what we're talking about.
Yes.
You have to prospect every single day. This is no different than, I mean, when we were hunter-gatherers, which we really still are, just in a different way. You know, the hunting party didn't say, well, wait a minute, we're stocked up. I don't think I'm going to go hunt today. No. That's not an optional exercise. You go hunt because the family needs to be fed. Yeah.
You got to be like Elmer Fudd. It's always duck season.
Always.
Always. All right, Nolly. Well, we got to wrap up, brother. I thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the conversation. Lots of good stuff on the whiteboard. Guys, check out nolly.com for his free book. You just pay the shipping and he'll ship it over to you. He's got free strategies to get more listings, lead generate for listing side stuff. I love that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you being here. You are amazing. I'm glad to call you a friend now.
Thank you, Russ. You are a true friend as well, brother. And I got to get a shirt and tie like that, man. I don't know if I can rock it, but we'll see.
You got this, brother. You got this. All right, Nolly, thank you very much today. Love that. Friday, rocking and rolling with Nolly. Guys, look at, we got good stuff. Break it down into 90 minutes. Stop doing useless stuff that doesn't do anything and start doing the stuff that is absolutely effective. Do less. Do more of the stuff that works, right? That's the whole recipe. Don't do stuff that doesn't work. Do more stuff that does work, right? Make that shift and adjust as you go through. And be a student of the game. Study the game. If you don't know how to study the game, study what other people are doing a great job. That's why we bring Nolly in. More of a business mindset coach than anything else. And he was also a baller selling houses. So there you go. There's Big Agent Meeting for today, June 2nd. Please jump on and complete our survey today. You saw it pop up under Nolly earlier to give us some feedback on how we're doing. Give us a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we knocked it out of the park for you guys. And if you want to add some stuff in there also to say, hey, we'd love to see or do, and what we did well, let us know that too, because we look at that feedback every Monday morning. So thank you guys for taking the time to do that. We do appreciate it. My name is Russ Laggan. I am the host of Big Agent Meeting. Stay tuned for ICONversations coming up next. Those guys